I saw an article from FloridaRealtors.org this week that said few homeowners look beyond, kind of the price. They when they're negotiating for the purchase or the sale of a home, they're like, oh, price. It's the most important thing. Even home sellers do that. Oh, I need 800. Well, why do you need 800? Because of this, that, and the other. And they fail to understand terms as well as, closing costs and discount points. And, a great example, for home buyers out there listening, if you're looking for a home right now and all you're focusing on is the price, make sure you're measuring the rate, the changes in the rate market. An example is, we had a client that said, you know what, I am going to buy a house for 10% below the asking price. And that was his goal. And it was a terrible goal, and we told him it was a terrible goal, but he was just dead set, I think, from an ego standpoint of getting a house 10% below market. So what he did was he shopped around, finally, ecstatic. He gets this guy, this house that's, and it's a higher priced house, so call it a $600,000 house. He gets a $600,000 listing, and the guy says, yeah, I'll sell it to you for $540,000. Goes through the whole process, gets appraised. It appraises at $540,000. So he didn't get a 10% discount. All he did was buy a house that was overpriced for what it should have been listed for, because he's paying attention to the wrong numbers, right? But unfortunately, that's what a lot of home buyers do. They pay attention to the asking price from a negotiation perspective instead of the value. If you see a home that's, especially in today's market, if it's well priced, you're not going to get it for 10% below asking. The only thing you're going to get below 10% below asking is an overpriced house.
Right.
So be cautious of that. If that's your goal, revitalize your goal, because paying attention to the price, the asking price of the property, is just wrong. I mean, you're going to lose. And then you have people who will negotiate over $500 or $1,000 in an expanding rate environment where rates are going up. So the rate could go up a quarter of a point, and they think, woo, they're high-fiving their spouse. We saved $500, woo, when all they really did was cost themselves more money because the interest rates went up a quarter of a point while they were negotiating over $500.
Right.
But that's one of those things, and the same thing with dates. So, I had an example recently where, we have a home seller that we're working with, and we got an offer on the house, and it was a pretty good offer. But we went back and forth, and we were kind of negotiating, and they're like, look, this is my price. I want to get this price. This is the price I'm getting. So, well, what if they told you that they're going to close in 6 months? Would you take? Yeah, if they'll close in 6 months, I'll take that price. I'm like, okay, what's your mortgage payment with? Oh, $3,000. Okay, that's $18,000 of mortgage payments you're going to pay for that price. Do you want to rethink your decision here, because that's not getting your price, And I think sometimes people fail to to factor that in. They get into the ego of, I want to get X% of my price, or this is my price, and they forget about the business side of it, that you have carrying costs, you have holding costs, you have all this. So is $18,000 a discount for a 6-month closing really what you want to do? Oh no, I really didn't think about it like that. So if you're out there selling a home or buying a home, don't just pay attention to the price. Pay attention to the terms, the length of closing, the amount of closing costs, the escrow deposit, how long you get for a loan commitment, all those things become hugely important, and unfortunately they get thrown out the window, and the buyer and seller start negotiating on the price, and they forget about all the other things that cost them money, and so it was funny, because what was interesting is the way I explained it to that particular client was, look, if you get your price, but it takes you 6 months, you're going to get less money than the offer they're giving you right now to close right now. Like, it's a worse offer. But you're paying attention. The ego is there, and you're paying attention only to the price instead of the terms and how good of a deal it is. So really take it all into context when you're negotiating. And it's big companies do the same thing. I mean, when they have lawyers and financial people look over these deals, and they're calculating every penny and how it gets accounted for before they determine the viability of a deal. And you need to kind of prepare that same thing on your end, when you're negotiating, to sell a property.